It's Friday, and that means competitive SMITE is officially back. Don't worry, you've been itching for it, and we've got your fix right here all weekend long. Starting off with some EU SMITE Challenger Circuit action, and a whole lot of SMITE to be played later on this weekend. One weekend in the books already. That was last weekend, weekend number 1 of Season 10 of the SMITE Pro League. We're officially moving on to weekend number 2. Cannot wait to get into it, but I can't do it alone. My name is Dolson. Mifflin's with me to talk all things SEC. Miff, we're starting to build up a little bit of data, though, on the meta and the teams and expectations at the early point of the year as we make our run up to Masters. And this can be SEC, SPL centric, anything in general. Any surprises from the meta, God pick, God ban-wise from week 1?
I mean, maybe not God selection, but so far as play on field, I feel like it has been very diverse in the first couple weeks of play. Some teams, and the majority of teams really, have been taking it a little bit longer. But some teams have figured out how to play very fast. I hope to figure out which one of those is correct as we start to play a little bit more.
The fast one. Surely the fast one is the correct one, right? That's got to be it. Let's see what matches we have for you over the course of the next 3 days, counting today. Of course, we're going to start off right there in that second column. Yesterday, if you missed it, the Roll Q Junglers Day, we had them in for a few of the junglers, all world champion junglers, by the way, in for a handful of segments, and all that will be posted over on YouTube at SMITE Pro. But moving on to today, SEC EU, that's where we are right now. The SPL will kick off hard start time of 1 p.m. Eastern, so that is 2 hours almost exactly from now. The Camelot Kings and the Leviathans, goodness, what a matchup to start off the weekend. And the Oni Warriors versus the Styx Ferrymen to end our broadcast. And then, as always, the SEC NA community broadcast will be after the SPL all 3 days this weekend. Moving into tomorrow and Sunday, we're right back to triple-header SPL matches, of course, all starting at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. There's a lot of good to look forward to here, Miff. And before we sink into the SEC, I'm looking at our Friday SPL matches, Kings, Leviathans, Oni Warriors, Styx Ferrymen. It's quite a loaded slate to start off the weekend.
Yeah, the Camelot Kings versus the Leviathans actually our match of the week. The reigning world champions versus the previous world champions. Yeah. I don't know. There's something spicy there.
Yeah, I know. I'm excited. If the Leviathans can have some growth from week number 1, of course, Oni Warriors versus Styx Ferrymen, our second SPL match of the day. Could be interesting. The Oni Warriors going to be slowed down, or the Styx Ferrymen going to step up? That's the big question. So fun to look forward to in the SPL all weekend long. But before we get out to all of our SPL matches, we got to see what the Challenger Circuit teams are going to be getting done. And Miff, over in EU, we've got a good one as well. All 3 matches today. Ones to look forward to. Solar Scarabs versus the Yomi Tanuki. The Solar Scarabs, Miff, Panvich, Worst Turtle, Sap7, Silenced, and E-Chrome. This is a roster you should be familiar with if you've been keeping your eyes on the SEC in years of past. It's a very talented team. I'm not surprised they made it into the EU SEC once more. It's about taking that next step, though, unseating some of the favorites that are in this region, because it's not an easy region to play in, but there is talent, Miff, I think, to build off of on this squad.
Yeah, when I spoke with Adapting in particular, I'd asked them, are there any other SEC talents over in Europe that you think are ready to make the jump to SPL? Any guys that stand out to you as just nearly ready? Who's next up? And he brought up Sap7 in particular as one of the players that he really respects out of the mid lane. Yeah. So I expect great things from the Solar Scarabs roster. Sap7, of course, not the only talented player here, surrounded by one of the best ADCs, E-Chrome, who has been very dominant in his own region. Silence as well is coming to his own as a support player. And Worst Turtle, I think, has been having very impactful games out of the jungle. So the Solar Scarabs, I wouldn't be too surprised if they were close to the top of the pack for the EU.
We'll talk a bit about the carries that they're going up against, the Yomi Tanuki squad, as we move into picks and bans for game number 1 between the Solar Scarabs and the Yomi Tanuki. Those carries that Sap and E-Chrome are going up against, Miff, it's Zeros and Emilito for the Yomi Tanuki, of course surrounded by Deathwalker, Ice, and Rotwin, with Rotwin playing support, and solo and jungle for the other 2. This Yomi Tanuki team, especially through qualifiers, I think expected to be one of the top couple of teams in this EU region. In the past, have played a more slow, controlled brand of SMITE. However, pure talent-wise, have the ability to sort of just steamroll their opponents. And so picks and bans, I think, are going to be pretty indicative of maybe some of the pacing that we're looking forward to. And uniquely enough, Miff, we're going to get an Opwash and an Ao Kwang ban And adaptations from week 1, I think, where we saw a lot of Marty left open in the SPL specifically, first or second pick. Apparently worth an early ban here in the eyes of the Scarabs.
Look, Marty is just really strong right now. He almost reminds me of a similar power curve to Freya, except he's got a bit of a stronger early game, thanks to that ability to clear waves aggressively, the ultimate removing yourself from the play field, the ability to give yourself mobility, 40% movement speed when you come out of the stealth, as well as affording stealth to your entire team around these objectives, I think makes him just a little bit too valuable to leave up. Ishtar and CERN, I think, maybe slightly behind him in value. Otherwise, I think Ben's pretty standard here. We got to hear from Adapting again. I've been invoking the king a fair deal during this test, but in his tier list, had Hebo and Alquang near the top with Thor, so if Yomi Tanuki are going to respect junglers, and it seems that's the case, might as well ban out 3 of the S's.
Yeah, the Tanuki got their opponent wrong. They're thinking they're playing against the Leviathans, and it's Adapting on the other side, but no, in reality, it's worse Turtle and the rest of the Solar Scarab. Still really good jungle bans. Sustain Myth, I think, could be an issue for the Tanuki to deal with this game. They've got Yamoja, Guan Yu, and then an AMC for assuming some good late game damage. Gotta factor in some anti-heal at some point. I know healing got changed, but between a Yamoja, between a Guan, there should be plenty of sustain for late game fights and objective zoning that goes on in the 20+ minute mark.
Yeah, objective dances, I think, will favor the team.
That's the word I was going for.
The longer the fight goes, the team with sustain going to be able to win that war of attrition. And, of course, Guan Yu and Yamojo having their sustain hit means that they're healing less overall in burst, but Guan Yu giving over CDR to his allies means that Yamoja, AMC will have everything available a little bit more often. No. Guan Yu, of course, still very strong in healing in his own regard, so I think you're right to bring up anti-heal. But the primary reason objective dances go a bit longer and favor healers more now in this meta than previously is the out-of-combat healing change. No longer is the Brawler's debuff a thing. You don't need to be in combat with an enemy god to get the full value of your heal. You can just AFK at your own speed buff and resustain that way.
Poseidon Jungle Myth, you like it for the Solar Scarabs?
I'm not a big Poseidon guy in general. I don't know. This god, it's real hit or miss, and so often it's just miss.
We'll find out if the Poseidon Jungle is hitting in game number 1 between the Solar Scarabs and the Yomi Tanuki with Gormizer and Trelly.
It's going to be a fun one, Trelly. These two teams, the Scarabs and the Tanuki. The Scarabs as a brand dropping down here to the SCC. One I'm excited to see what they can do for this year. I'll admit, part of me was secretly hoping that Deathwalker was just going to strong arm the Vamana and Ice was going to be the one on the tier and that we were finally going to get tier jungle back, but alas!
It would have been powerful.
Vamana back in the jungle. How do you following up what the desk was asking about, how do you feel about Poseidon in the jungle?
I mean, it's just one of those picks that I got to agree with Myth. It's hit or miss, and more often than not, it is missing. Your benefit is fast clear, but so many assassins just clear faster. The benefit in this composition, of course, is, hey, we've got 2 hunters, right? So we need some magical damage. Hebo was gone, Alquang was gone, so we went to the fish boy like that. That's the idea. It still does have some nice ganks. You can find these key targets that don't have CC immunity, for example. Anyone that can catch your dash, I think Rotwin's not going to appreciate it. Deathwalker's going to have to force that ultimate, that sort of thing. So Worst Turtle has some value if you can find those whirlpools. It's just you're going to be getting bullied in the early, and you got to make sure you're landing those Krakens. We've seen too many times Krakens not give value.
Yeah, I think the last time we saw this in the jungle, I want to say it was Oleon playing it. And lo and behold, the Krakens connecting, right?
Yes.
That's the big difference maker half the time. Your whirlpools don't matter. Pretty much nothing. Your trident, your knockback, it all pales in comparison to the Kraken. Sounds like a really cool, deep sentence, but in reality, Friday morning warm-ups, it's just an ult.
it sounds like a card, and that's like it's the description. You play it, and it's like, all hail in comparison to the Kraken, do 10 damage to your opponent like that. That's what I imagined when you said that, and it was like in a cool way. But unfortunately for Worst Turtle, it's usually not that Kraken. If you get ahead, of course, but you have to match the clear of Golden Blade Vamana, who unfortunately is one of the fastest clears that we have in the current meta in the jungle. I mean, if it's not Baka, it's probably Vamana. He just zooms across the map. You can't really kill him if he has his ultimate until late game, of course, when you're able to outscale. So it's difficult. It's difficult to try and match that pressure. Doom Orb is a thing, just not online quite yet.
Yeah, and even then, it might take a little bit to catch up. Ice. Catches Panvich out with a slow blink. And the Fearless is going to get knock up immune, which is that's going to be a fun interaction to see. Unfortunate for Deathwalker.
Not
Don't
a fun
even have
lane.
to burn his ult, man.
No.
Like that, it just makes it kind of hurts me to know that happens.
He's immune in his dash, he's immune in Tolu Assault, and of course, he's immune in his ultimate. So it's not a fun matchup for tier. You kind of just ignore him and try and farm, which it looks like Deathwalker's going for. He's got the Sigil, he's got the tier 1 earring for the MP5. He's just going to try and like proxy waves and ignore the Guan Yu, and then bully the AMC, the immobile Poseidon. Those are the two picks that I think this tier really can get active on. But you know, even E-Chrome, you just channel the Gallarhorn. You're not getting knocked up. You're not getting Fearless. There is a fair bit of knock-up immunity on that squad. And Worst Throw just has to really drop the Whirlpool. So not the best tier game, but hey, Deathwalker finds a way. He always does.
Sometimes it'll be 4 people. Sometimes it'll be 1. Doesn't necessarily matter as long as he's getting the job done. And I expect a lot of it, you know, you had kind of mentioned it, but the later the game goes, I think that Deathwalker is going to not have too many issues, right? A lot of the things that you had highlighted, actually the Gallarhorn may be up the most, but Panvich should get bullied a little bit from some of the late game encounters that we'll probably end up seeing here. Normally at this point, and you know, if we had 2 teams, because you look at the names, I think on the Tanuki, and you know that they've not only been around the EU SCC scene for a while, but they've kind of dominated the EU SCC scene for a long time. I was expecting them to maybe have a little bit more farm to their name. Of course, you look at the other side, a bunch of guys that have been around for a long time as well. E-Chrome, I think, who has been a very notable carryover here, having to go up against Emilito, of all people, got to be... It's one of those moments, you know, when you ask people, same time when they play against, like, Adapting, and they go like, dude, that's the guy who got me into SMITE.
Yep.
I'm playing against him. Like, that's so wild. I have to imagine something similar here, right? Emilito 2-time back-to-back alongside Adapting. Very, very dominant name in SMITE for a long time. Always happy to have him back.
It is appreciated. A weird play style, though. I think that you would think this dominating lane presence would want to go for something more bully-oriented, but Emilito has been defaulting to the safest gods possible, and I guess that's sort of just the EU meta, right? You're looking toward Heimdall because it's relatively safe. Jingwei, that same sort of pick, right? You're just trying to survive in lane, make it to late game, not let any of these junglers sort of camp your lane. And because of that, Emilito has been going to the Jingwei a ton. I mean, it's been a lot, and it looks like trying to find the Kraken. Deathwalker gets CC chained. No time for the ultimate.
Nope.
You are gone.
And you had mentioned it earlier. Sometimes that's all you need, right?
Yep.
A little bit of a whirlpool, something to stop the Fearless movement. And it's as simple as that. Unfortunately, it's not as simple the other way around. Your 2 gods, you know, the Vamana, the tier, relying on the knockups, and so far Panvich has gone immune. So now finally a small lead just in that first Blood Bounty. And you can see the team maybe playing a little more aggressive because of that win. Shield buff picked up over on left. And they're pinging out aggressive positioning around the mid-Harpies. Rotwin might be in more trouble than they realize here. Sap7's right there to get some shots out. Did hit the Stinger. Locks him down. One more hit, and they're going to be able to get it silenced. Picks that one up. And it's going to be a quick 1-1 pickup for the Scarabs. 1 and solo, 1 over towards left, giving them a 2-0 lead.
2-0 for the Scarabs. Yomi Tanuki falling a bit behind just throughout the entirety of the map. They're taking some bad fights, or I guess in this case just getting picked off. I think Deathwalker, that was an avoidable mistake. You kind of could have warded up and not really went for the Fearless knowing that Worst Turtle was there, but I guess he was caught off guard. Over and left, though, you called it out. It seemed like Rotwin felt safer than he really was once that Stinger came through. Had to back up to get stingered once again, but this time able to make it out. Sap7 will go under tower. It just barely misses the giddy up. Zeros was trying to find it, but once again, Deathwalker falls down?
I don't know if this one's just the draft working really well, or if it's some positioning, maybe a lapse in judgment from some of the Tanuki. Damage. Poor Rotwin at this point. I don't think that's a lack of judgment. I think he's just getting bullied. As you mentioned, the Stinger already almost back up. Despite the nerfs, I think showcasing that AMC still has something to offer. Poseidon found a good counter matchup. Is deciding to sit over in right lane. Now, rotating over through towards mid. Rotwin and 0, so too far back. So it doesn't look like they're going for any kills. Mid cam's on left, going to be coming up. Ice is over here. Feel a fight brewing. It just depends on how heavily the Scarabs want to commit to this one. And it seems like the answer is not at all. They're just going to let the mid camps fall away and go farm up their own jungle.
Yeah, I think Worst Turtle's got a good game plan so far. You got Kraken, head over towards right lane. You can tell Deathwalker is not building magic defense. It's the Glad Shield into probably a Wingblade or a Relic Dagger coming up. So eventually we'll get some online, but for now you're getting full value out of that Cavalry charge in a Kraken combo. So Worst Turtle is going over to the left just to check for some farm, and probably going to sit on the right side of the map whenever Panvich does have that ultimate ready, because they can rinse and repeat this gank a few more times before magic defense is gone. Silence does get an ultimate here, but how much damage do you have for 0? So it turns out a lot.
A good amount. Stun's not going to connect, though. And unfortunately, that Stinger goes a little wide, so it's not as easy this time around to shred through Xerxes' health bar. TKO at the end of the day sends him back to base. Oh no, Deathwalker. Oh, unfortunately. It looks like for Worst Turtle, Deathwalker's going to walk just far enough away, just in time. There's no Whirlpool. He goes too far forward, though. Now the Poseidon's back. Now he can play safe. Now he can play, not even safe, play aggressively without having to worry too much about it. You know, as much as we wanted to, or at least maybe knock it at the very beginning, if it's hit or miss, 1, 0, and 2, Poseidon so far, 9 minutes in, he's been hitting pretty well. And it doesn't look like there's really a good answer back from the Tanuki just yet.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about it, 2 Krakens from Worst Turtle. Ice has ulted 0 times. There's just been no opportunity here for the Vamana. Staying relatively even farm-wise, but that's sort of one of the strengths of Vamana, is that you're going to farm quickly. You're not going to have these telegraph ganks, though, until you get some more damage online. Colossal Fury is all well and good, but you have to be able to chase down these immobile targets. You have to get some more movement speed online, which unfortunately Ice just does not have yet. So I assume once the bladed boomerang gets purchased, which it just did, you have more options to look to get aggressive. Deathwalker is trying to hold on to this ultimate. It really is his own survivability for when that Kraken comes, and he does hold on to it. So Panvich doesn't succeed in getting that ultimate down. The Lawbringer will stay alive, which means you're a little bit safer in your solo lane for the time being. But I want to see the Solar Scarabs look towards left lane. They have Kraken. They've got plenty of damage. Deathwalker doesn't have teleport. This tier is not going to be able to make it all the way over in time. I'm thinking it's time for some Gold Fury pressure. The lead is big enough to where you have that burst, you have that potential, and it looks like they are going to start it up.
Yeah, you call it out, and it's like they hear you. Sap pulls 2 sets of eyes his way. Rotwin's going to see the Gold Fury, though. That's going to call the reset. Jump in. There's the Kraken. Scarabs get the Gold Fury. Now getting out is their prerogative. Silence gets to walk right through. What a great Rivers Rebuke. Oh, and it ends the fight for the Tanuki before it can even start.
Can I just say, first of all, that is a beautiful placement, and now trying to get some extra farm is the call here for the Tanuki. To be able to steal away that green buff for the time being. So unfortunate for Sap 7. Transcendence in a breastplate. Recognize there's a lot of physical defense, or physical damage rather, on the side of the Tanuki. Gonna have to worry about double Hunter and double Warrior, I suppose. So just goes right into a Breastplate of Valor. This AMC is getting value from those tank stats. I mean, you don't have to worry about Rotwin soloing you. He's going double cloaks. There's no damage there from the Bacchus. It's just all physical defense, and most of the shred is on the side of the Scarabs with that AMC ult. So this is going to be a very difficult AMC to try and lock down here with that build.
I feel like it also works out pretty well with just AMC in general. You get a lot of mana, which AMC loves, right? The Transcendence helps a good chunk of that. But you're also getting the CDR. So, like, I don't know. Maybe it just stacks up. It's not like my preferred every game build. I don't want to necessarily see this be a slot on every AMC ever. But I think in this specific instance, it actually works out, like you said, really well for him against what the Tanuki are playing. And it just happens to synergize with the kit pretty well. We'll see if it ends up making a big enough difference. I mean, he's already playing more aggressively for Rotwin. Stingered, and that's going to get picked back up. And again, the cooldown on when you do scoop up the Stinger did get nerfed slightly. I mean, at this point, months ago.
It feels real bad, too. It used to be, hold that thought, Pyromancer is actually getting started up here. And it looks like the Kraken is available.
They're going to drop it here. Rotwin had leaped in. There's going to be the Kraken, though. They're going for the kill on the support. Ice Ice, Deathwalker here. Horse Turtle. He's got the only kill of the fight so far. He's going to help lead his team back into the sap. Had the Stinger, dropped the Stinger, and is chasing down anything more they can find. Ice Ice just barely ticks up enough health to survive the onslaught from the Scarabs. But they're going to fall right back and pick up the thing they wanted in the first place. Pyromancer going the way of the Order team.
Yep, that one's going to be pretty free. Look at the damage difference here between these auto attacks. 200, 220, 226. I haven't even seen Emilito hit an auto attack, so I can't tell you how much he's doing. But I can assure you it's not that much. It is a smaller number than 220. Unfortunately, we're not going to be able to get the damage check. But this Jingwei is underneath tower for a good reason. E-Chrome is absolutely slapping with this build so far. Sap 7. We're going to see that breastplate get its money's worth. You think he's caught out. Gets the runaway for the time being. Is actually stepping forward, wants to try and fight this. Ice Ice taking a lot of damage.
In reality, I mean, you get honey, bees, your hive back up so quickly. Feels like it's worthwhile. I mean, we can see it, right? The diamond there on the cooldown for the Stinger coming back up soon. I don't mind watching Sap play as aggressively as they have been.
And that's the thing, Gore. You can catch flies with honey, but you catch more honeys being fly.
Man, I thought you were gonna like revert back to what we were talking about before the Pyromancer. And it was gonna be about the cooldown.
No.
And you know what? He's being fly right now.
He is, and that's what I'm. Yeah.
That's the point.
It comes full circle. But in reality, you do feel the cooldown nerf when you pick up the Stinger. It's not like, oh, in 18 seconds I can use it again. It's like, oh, in 30 seconds I can use it again, which is not as fun.
To be fair, but 30 seconds is still real low.
It's great. It's just
like
you can feel the nerf, and Deathwalker's tired of getting bullied. He's gonna find a gank here for E-Chrome.
Forces the beats. Yeah, it doesn't result in much, does
Nope.
it? Although Relic down, I mean, a minute 60, not a minute 60, 160. A little over 2.5 minutes. That now E-Chrome's gonna have to play carefully. Keeps his ult though. And is still playing aggressively. You were talking about the autos hitting. Look at that, the 254. Oh man. Chunking Emilito. And the crit's not fully online yet for Emil either. This is all a play for this side of the map. Pressure has been the name of the game, and it's for Primal Fury. Rotwin will spot it out, but I mean, who steps up? Who tries to defend? Nobody. In fact, anybody that does, they're just going to turn and burn. Rotwin half health forced out of this one. Massive leads in certain areas on the side of the Scarabs. Deathwalker, though, looking for a big play. There's River's Rebuke, locks in 2. Primal Fury has not been leashed yet. There's no Kraken online. Instead, it's going to be the big fight from Panvich. Finds a stun, locks him down, forces an ult from Deathwalker, and Immel forced to turn around and run as well. 3 names on the Tanuki. Forced disengage, and a Primal Fury still going the way of the Scarabs. Clean fight for them. Few relics used, not a lot of kills picked up, but the space generated they needed.
Yeah, very one-sided so far here for the Solar Scarabs. Ice Ice just decides to go and split push, and Worst Turtle says, hey, we're going to take our best burst option and just go send it over to right lane to stop this split push. You're not allowed to get that tier 2. We're still going to get the Fury over and left and win out handedly. I mean, it's 5-0 in favor of the Solar Scarabs, and the lead is pretty spread out. It's not just one member of the Scarabs that has these kills. Pretty diversified. You got to watch out for the level 17 Poseidon. The Guan Yu has been a big threat. Panvich has been making those key rotations, and that's why Deathwalker ran over. He doesn't have to teleport. He knows, hey, we're probably going to be fighting for this Fury, but what's the benefit of having your soul laner come when your jungler's not there? Ice Ice just decided to split push and said this fight's over. Rotwin is getting aggressed on here. Finally, Ice Ice decides to get active.
Oh, the silence not going to walk out of this one. Felt like there could have been an opportunity. That Stinger. How's Sap feeling? Not able to get there in time. Wanted to make the play for it. That's a big kill, though. Silenced, who is 3 levels up on Rotwin. Definitely still worthwhile, despite the fact that it's a support. I mean, only 2 levels down from the jungle and the solo. I mean, it is not as big a deficit as we're used to seeing from your supports. Meanwhile, everybody else on the Scarabs also has a pretty comfortable lead, right? 2 levels in solo, 2 levels in jungle,
my gosh.
a level in mid, and a level for the carries. And I don't think E-Chrome, based on what we're seeing in the 1v1, is losing that anytime soon.
I mean, there's no crit either. I mean, I understand that Heimdall, you just sometimes doesn't feel good building crit. It's just Xe Kins in this slot, but you'd think Emilito would be able to pop those enhanced auto attacks and trade back, but it's just not happening. This Heimdall can do no wrong. Sitting at that tower line, Deathwalker made the rotation over, found the beads. No collapse with those beads down. E-Chrome's beads are back up, and purchases a full dominance on that back. If you thought he was hitting hard before, these tanks not going to be living too long when E-Chrome's around. And now the grouping around the right side of the map. I want to see Heimdall go right. I mean, you could defend your tier 1, which it looks like he's going to do. But Pyromancer's up. Fire Giant is certainly a possibility here. And it looks like the Pyro is going to be started up. Rotwin realizes, hey, there's no way I'm flopping in and living to tell the tale. So I'm going to give that one up.
And that should push them firmly over 5,000 gold, now in favor of the Scarabs. 7,900 experience. Wow. So a lot of the numbers leaning in their favor. And Trelly, you know, it's been a while since maybe at least any of us has said that, but like the experience tickers keeps counting the experience your team earns after you hit 20. There's not a single person who's 20 there. That's all true on the map experience here. So the Tanuki, definitely an uphill battle. And they're spending their money, too, and they're spending it wisely. I mean, you had mentioned the full buy dominance. We just saw full Spectral picked up for the Guan Yu. And I'm wondering, earlier, there's been a couple of fights now, but earlier, it's Ice and Deathwalker, I believe, at the bottom of the damage dealt chart, just not getting much done. Maybe they're going to try to pad some of those stats. Good Bifrost gets E-Chrome right on out of there. Yeah, it's still the tier, still the mana. Just not super active this game. And it might be a little bit worse. Has to use the beats from Deathwalker and the ult to disengage here. Well played by the Scarabs to force the defense there. It might not even end with Deathwalker. Emilito, incredibly low. Sap is looking for it. Sap wants a little more, but is only going to find a little bit of the damage. Loses the Stinger as well, so it's going to be an easy fallback. Oni Fury's coming up. What a consolation prize.
Yep, at this point, you get both relics there off Emilito. Worst Turtle was able to find the Kraken and force that ultimate out. Deathwalker, the only one to defend, and he's not going to be able to. Check out Fire Giant, though. The Tanuki already on the pull. They have Colossal Fury if they want to use it, but that rotation's coming too fast. Sap 7 already on the right side of the map. That play's going to have to drop. Ice has not been able to get active in these fights. 1 kill. And it's just said, hey, I'm going to be split pushing for the rest of the game. It just seems like the Tanuki need far more than anything. And the Solar Scarabs can do no wrong. Grouped up on the Fire Giant. They don't have crit on the E-Chrome, but they do have double Hunter and a Poseidon. I think it's not going to matter too much. They've got the burn for this.
Yeah, they could let everybody from the Tanuki walk up to this, and they still have the odds in their favor. Sent through the realms right now is Deathwalker. Oh, look at this. The team is coming. The team was waiting. The Stinger used. The Fire Giant leash just to get that kill. But now who's brave enough to step up? Ice, Rotwin, Zeros, they're here. Immel's in mid. Fire Giant's low. Scarabs are going to pick that up. Have not used the Kraken yet. Got a lot closer than they would have liked. It does not matter. They killed off Deathwalker. Now they take down Rotwin. And they chase forward. Immel might be caught out here. Ping by Sap. Sap's going to walk forward. You haven't been winning a lot of these matchups, Immel, and the shots are going in favor of Sap. Stinger dropped in mid.
Honey.
Sap's going to look for a little more. Dodges out the autos. Ice is here. So now you're in a 2v1. Immel's still low. Worst Turtle comes in. Kraken doesn't do a lot, but the damage afterward, oh my god, melts. Ice down. The ult working wonders here, but it's not enough. The Whirlpool damage does it, and they get the kill on the jungler now on the right. Phoenix aggressing in. Silence takes a lot of damage. Rotwin, though, gets burned down. Panvich helps open the door to get E-Chrome in there. They're picking up kills slowly but surely here for the Scarabs.
And they've got the sustain. This Yamoja Guan Yu combo is going to keep them nice and healthy here. Deathwalker blinks in a rare miss on the Fearless, and this right side bird is still the target with E-Chrome. Oh my gosh, E-Chrome doesn't miss!
Doesn't miss, doesn't care, and just buries Emilito. 46 seconds now that he's going to be gone, Deathwalker. Oh, he's going to be joining him in the death timers. Right side, Phoenix goes down with him. Mid doesn't look like it's going to last much longer. There's still a tier 2 in left. And this number advantage? I agree with the Scarabs. Get aggressive and get in there. Rotwin, like he doesn't even exist, melts under the eyes of the Scarabs, as will the Titan, if they so choose. And they're going to take it down easily, 12-1, and that's a game 1 win.
I am amazed that this non-crit full shred Heimdall was hitting so hard, but when you get a lead like that, when you get so far ahead, Emilito unfortunately didn't get to play Smite. I didn't see it. I saw a lot of, hey, I'm going to be under my tower. Maybe I'll be under the tier 2 if you guys are going to be pushing me this hard, but it just seemed like a massive ADC differential in the team fight. Worst Turtle completely out-jungled Ice Ice. Ice Ice was, I'm going to split push. I'm going to go get towers. I cannot help in the team fights. We saw one aggressive Colossal Fury, and then the most recent defensive one, he couldn't even live through a Kraken.
Nope. That damage, it blew my mind how quickly and easily Ice Ice disappeared in that moment. I thought it was going to be an Emil kill. They turned it instead on the jungler quickly, easily, and they win this one with a very, very commanding nature. The Solar Scarabs up 1-0. See, can they close it out 2-0? Or will the Tanuki surprise us in Game 2? We'll find out right after this.
blasting into the battleground in game number 1, where the Solar Scarabs taking down the Yomi Tanuki, a team that was probably favorited to win there in game number 1. But as you saw from that video bumper right there, the G.I. Joe event going on in SMITE right now. 6 awesome skins. If you're an AD carry main, this is a great crossover and event for you. Ho, Yi, and Neith are in there. Also, if you're a Susano main or just like the jungle, there's a couple Susano skins in this crossover as well. You got Cobra going up against the good guys. And Miff, we already did this yesterday. There is a community event going on right now. You can play as the good guys. You can play as the bad guys, the actual skins. And as you win the games, you're going to get points for the bad or good side. And as that builds up, you'll get rewards. I beat Miff a few times yesterday.
That's a lie.
And I took it to you.
One time.
I had Neith. I had the Cobra on my wrist, and the Cobra was Baroness. Right. It was really starting to go wild. Actually, no, it was the Ho Yi game where I turned on you, stunned you, critted you, and strolled into base.
Yeah, lost that game though.
That's right. Did lose that game. I only won once. I only got 1 set of points for Cobra yesterday, but that's okay. It's going on in-game now. 6 awesome skins. I'm not letting Miff defend himself at all because, Miff, we've got to talk about game number 1 here. And it's the Solar Scarabs, a very talented team, but maybe not one you're going to favor every single time over the Yomi Tanuki, who simply took the game to the Yomi Tanuki, did not give them a moment to play.
I mean, it was early game dominance that translated to mid-game dominance that very easily, I wouldn't even say it was late game dominance. We didn't get there. That game ended at 22 some odd minutes.
It was fast.
So a very fast one. Felt like the Solar Scarabs had superior control around objectives. In particular, felt like Rotwin was really struggling to get anything done this game. That Bacchus, a non-factor. Ice outscaled completely by Worst Turtle on this Poseidon, who I did toss some question marks towards the pick itself, but if it's going to continue to perform like this, securing just about every single objective and kill for the first 15 minutes of the game, I think one that you could probably just go ahead and move on back towards. Magical Jungles just seem to be flavor of the week right now. I mean, Hebo, Alkwang, maybe even put Poseidon on that list. When Spear of Desolation and Doom Orb are as good as they are right now, feels like you want to get as many mages as you can.
Are you a fan of that flavor? Or are you waiting for something else to get in stock?
Are
you walking up to the desk and you say, I want this flavor of the week. I want the Magical Jungle. That's the flavor I'm hankering for.
See, it's a conflicting emotion that currently runs through me and sets my heart ablaze, Dave, because when Magical Jungles are good, that means that Magical Mids are good. And when Mids are good, I'm not feeling good. But I also like having more variety in the jungle. I don't know, 50-50 on it.
Set your heart ablaze, Myth. That's the only thing I want you to do. I want you to approach life with happiness and gumption. Bet you didn't think I was going to use that word today. Picks and bans for game 2. We'll see if the Tanuki can flip things around here. If the Solar Scarabs are going back-to-back, this would be quite a statement if the Solar Scarabs are able to 2-0 the Yomi Tanuki. Finding a win is one thing, a 2-1 set back and forth. Call it a competitive coin toss, but this would be a statement if the Solar Scarabs are able to go back-to-back against really some of the most storied players we've got in the USEC. You look at some of the pieces of that Hex Mambo team. I think Ice has such a wonderful competitive history, but Johnny was such an important part to that Hex Mambo team, and it's just a different play style, I think, now that Ice is slotting in with, and Emilito and Rotwin. So it's sort of a different mix from the world beaters that we saw last year, but you still got to give them their credit and their opportunity to bounce back. Looks like bans are going to remain mostly the same. Heimdall, though, Miff, look, it was a great pick for Echrome, but that leaves open the Hebo for yourself instead and takes away an AD carry from the other side.
Yeah, if Echrome's going to go towards Heimdall, regardless of meta, regardless of year, so long as that god has been available, Echrome has been locking it in, I think it's just a valuable takeaway for any team that wants to play against the Solar Scarabs. Getting Echrome off of his comfort pick, step number one, especially if the fallbacks are going to look as – oh, man, what's the negative? As little impact, if they have as little impact as they did in the previous match. So I'm not going to argue against it. I feel like Yomi Tanuki have clearly done their homework for this set, and so far have got themselves some compositions that have worked out just incredibly well. And the flexibility of Hebo and the ability to go between mid and jungle, likely jungle deck god, is just so powerful with the mobility afforded by Doom Orb and the power spikes that these junglers can get so early on, that Yomi Tanuki with their top 3, I've got no complaints.
I wonder if Echrome or if Emilito is going to be playing as the Cobra Ho Yi skin here in this game.
Gotta be comp bans. Gotta be comp banned, bro.
I'm sure it is. Really cool skin, though. You can get it yourself in-game right now. Aphrodite, AMC, and Guan Yu. Solar Scarabs, look, they just got this sustain mentality, and now you get one of, at the beginning, or right after 10-3, one of the most sought-after characters in the game was Aphrodite. Was insta-banned what felt like every single game. That's slowed down a bit, but still maybe in a very, very strong spot that adds to the sustain, but also maybe run-it-down style of comp that the Solar Scarabs want to play.
Yeah, I wonder where this Aphrodite goes, though. With the protection share eating a nerf, that's the major change to Aphrodite since last we'd seen her top banned every single game. Now it gives a little bit less defense to the Kiss target. Maybe that gives her a little bit more credo towards mid. Maybe you want to get a little bit more power on her so she can become that standard mage. Her power output had also received some buffs coming into year 10 as well, so the ability to clear waves has gotten a little bit better, secure your kills has gotten a little bit better as well. We haven't had too many opportunities to see Aphrodite in a carry role, and that's not to say that we are guaranteed to see it here, but certainly some potential.
Sobek plus Thoth. Look, Thoth is... Where do we put Thoth in our casting tier list? He was high, right?
I got him pretty high, yeah.
Yeah, look, I always love the potential that this pick brings. However, if it falls behind the run-it-down potential of the other side, starts to scale up a little bit here. Seems like the Yomi Tanuki looking for some of that burst here, Myth. You got a Crushing Wave. You'll have a Final Judgment later in the game, maybe a Sobek Samama for some setup. So I think it's a well-rounded comp from the Tanuki. But sustain between a Guan, an Afro, a Chang'e, and then double AD carry comp, is that going to be difficult to break through?
It is very difficult. The initiation from the Solar Scarabs I feel like is a little bit easier to execute on, and you already brought up the sustain. They've doubled down on that playstyle, even picking up a third one with a Chang'e. This is tough. Yomi Tanuki, I'm not sure they won out on this one.
Are the Tanuki staggered out in game 2? Are we going to see a Solar Scarabs 2-0? It's time to find out with your casters.
Yeah, sustain is the name of the game here in game number 2. And Trelly, with the damage output that a lot of these guys have, it's going to be very interesting. The one that catches my eye, though, Worst Turtle playing the Chang'e in the jungle.
The Chang'e jungle, huh? You're going to be going Doom Orb, I assume?
Can you even call it the Chungle, since that's like the Chalk
No,
jungle?
Unfortunately,
So
that
what
is
is this?
Yeah.
The Chalk Gungle?
I don't like that, but it is. I think, unfortunately, that may just be what it is. You're trying to match the pressure of Hebo, and luckily you do have a pretty decent matchup in Hebo if you're able to use that.
Oh my god, I'm an idiot. Just Changul.
Yeah, Chang'e works
That
too.
sounds a lot better than Changungle.
I mean, I think if we make a name,
it's got to happen more often.
yeah, I don't want to name it because then it
There's
becomes,
no branding on this
yeah,
one.
I don't want it to become real, so I'm not gonna. I hope we don't have to name it. But in this case, I think a decent matchup into the Hebo, aggressive jump. I'm surprised.
Yeah, doesn't get anything. I was holding my breath.
Yeah,
I was waiting.
I was thinking I was thinking a Ricochet was gonna come or something, but it was just the aggressive junk in. I'm guessing. Ricochet already down, but look at Worst Turtle popping the shard for some CDR, just bullying Ice in the jungle.
This and this is where I think we're going to get to see it. What I believe we're in store for is one of those games where it's a pleasant reminder that Chang'e does a lot more damage than you expect. Really good ultimate. One of my favorite gods to play in Smite in general. I just think her kit feels so fluid. Makes a lot of sense. I've loved her since she released. The damage now, I believe it was, didn't her passive recently change, so instead of anti-heal and stuff like that was built in, she's now got stacking damage,
Extra
right?
damage,
So she
yep.
lost that 40% anti-heal that she would have had otherwise, with extra damage on a god that already hit surprisingly hard. And so I'm excited for it. Plus, and this is something that we get to talk about more with Robin, not something that I expect to talk about Chang'e related today, but when you're in the jungle with it, you don't have to worry about your beads or Aegis super early on. You can still afford to go for a blink, I guess, here for Worst Turtle without feeling too pressured by anything else.
Yeah, I think this is a great matchup into the Hebo and the Thoth. So Blink, Waxing Moon, going to be a great team fight starter or even a team fight ender if you're using it the right way. Now that stun really does start to add up. And One of the more
Literally.
Yeah, one of the more fun characters to cast in this game, just because of the potential for those massive plays. Ice is sitting around here, not gonna have too much damage for Panvich, so not gonna result in any sort of kill, but maybe a blue buff invade as Worst Turtle's heading over as well. I don't like their 2v2 odds if they can sustain up, but it looks like burst-wise, yep, 2 free. Trying to block the dash from Deathwalker, though. He can't get through.
Now, they've been holding that angle. Not enough to get the kill. Well, Worst Turtle
That crowd surf could have gone really
does
well.
not seem to be slowing down. Actually, still getting aggressive, following towards the blue buff. Over on the left, Scarabs getting aggressive onto purple. And so matching some of this aggression, left and right. Blue, I think, successfully defended there by Ice. Barely. But sometimes barely is something. Meanwhile, purple buff bullied and scooped away by Echrome on the other side of the map.
All the while, you got this Aphrodite Hachiman lane that just seems not very fun to deal with, especially because Rotwin and Emilito don't have too much clear. The Hou-Yi is known for the 1v1 potential, but Ricochet is not great wave clear for quite some time. Unfortunately, it seems like Emilito said, hey, I'm tired of playing like passive gods. I don't want to be on the Jing Wei. I want to have 1v1 potential. I want to be able to scrap. But now you're just up against this lane where none of the poke you go for is going to stick, because you're just going to get birds healed off every single time you go for Ricochet. And you're still getting pushed under tower. Your purple buff's getting invaded. Duo lane for the Yomi Tanuki. Rough set so far, but playing for late game. Always hopeful that these big burst mages, the Hebo and the Thoth, are going to be able to make the difference towards that team fight phase when you get a little bit more damage online, that sort of thing. But lane, yeah, I'm thinking they're not going to be able to get too aggressive here, because it's just going to be this until Ice shows up.
Ice might change the pace of this one. Silenced. Pretty far aggressive Echrome. There's the ult from Silence, but it's too early. And it doesn't save anything. Instead, Ice gets first blood and looks for a second one. A double kill off the gank. And the Hebo makes sure his presence is known.
There was a ward there, just a little bit too little too late. Ice still had Blink, even if they tried to close gap, and that's what the Hebo brings. Giving a 2-0 start to Ice is very scary as well. We said Chang'e has the ability to look, to find aggressive fights with the Hebo, but from behind, that itemization is going to be a big difference. Crushing Wave just barely able to connect there on the tail end. And unfortunately for Silence, was sort of forced into ulting early because the HP was just too low. Echrome was not going to be surviving that one. So 2 kills go the way of the Tanuki. Still down in gold, though, notably. The Solar Scarabs have been able to find some good farm throughout the entirety of the map. So not going to put them in the lead, but at least that jungle matchup, this Hebo, I think Ice is going to continue to get aggressive over on the left side of the map. And he's going to just confirm that shield buff there for Emilito.
I would argue necessary kills after what we saw last game. I mean, Rotwin fell so far behind, 3 levels, I believe it was, behind Silence, maybe 4 by the end of the game, and was very much a non-presence, I think, in a lot of the team fights. So something to keep him closer to even, still a little in favor right now of the Scarabs duo lane. Dumorb finished for the Hebo and for the Thoth, which one comes online way faster than the Transcendence on the other side, but also a little faster than Worst Turtle. This is something that is, in solo lane, I feel like we can talk about it a lot. In the jungle, I don't know if it's as helpful, but the bunny going back to buy items for Worst Turtle. Uptime on farm, theoretically, is going to be there a little bit more, especially when you're having to contend with Deathwalker for your back camps. But do you see the bunny? Actually, I see him running on the map right now. He's going into the fountain. Do you see it being maybe like a big difference maker? Or is it just kind of a little added bonus for Worst Turtle?
There is a little bit of tech with the Chang'e mid where you start beads, and then right around level 11 when you know you're about to hit 12,
he's zooming.
You send the bunny back for Blink, and then you make a big Blink play when the enemy team doesn't expect you to have it. But with Worst Turtle already starting Blink, I don't think there's going to be any room for plays like that. It's just, hey, you don't have to go back to base. You can continue farming, which is going to help try and catch up to Ice. There's the Blink Waxing Moon, and it looks like Sobek is the target, and Rotwin goes down. Sap able to claim their first kill of the match so far for the Solar Scarabs, that is. And that's the strength of that ultimate. You hit 2 targets, That stun is just going to get longer and longer.
That's, you know, those moments and moments, right? Rotwin is dealing with the least of it. And yet, you just don't have any backup. Zeros can't do anything for another, like, second, it feels like. So a good little pickup by the Scarabs, like you said, makes it 2-1. About 600 gold in their favor, which is not a whole ton, especially 8 minutes into the game. Not a lot to separate, especially across all 5. Then you look at builds, and you're starting to realize that net worth-wise, at least 500 gold of that is in mid. And you've gone for another prot item here for SAP 2nd. Though it's going to be a little less breastplate-y, I guess. A little more maneuverability that SAP's going to be bringing to the table.
Less breastplate-y, more winged bladey, if you will. And I think it's just because all this.
That's way better than what I said.
Yep. I'm not agree. I'm not saying yep as into roast what you said. To be clear, I'm not like yeah, Gordon.
No, yeah, that was awful.
Yeah, no, I'm just.
Why
saying,
do you have this job?
I'm just saying. I do. I do like the wing blade because you're gonna be able to run out of the Ho Yi Ul, the Sobek Gold, of course, the Hebo Carpet, even the first couple ticks of dazzling offensive there from Amaterasu. You're gonna get value out of this wing blade in spades, especially when you're putting your hives down. AMC is already.
He's gonna be flying.
Yeah, he's already.
I guess literally.
Yeah, he's already very difficult to hit as is with the hive movement speed. Go ahead and add some more, and just making sure that you're a difficult target to really lock down. Some of these bigger mage ultimates could be an issue. E-Chrome, you guys want to go in here. Who's the target? It looks like Emilito.
Yeah, good shots so far on Emil. No mana to work with. Silenced. Oh, he's going to find that one. The Heavenly Banner deals some damage to Rotwin. They don't get the kill, but
Surely
he's
they dive
solo.
this.
Someone's going to go for it. It's going to... No, not Ice either, or Worst Turtle. Oh, no, they're going to make a bigger play. They see some bigger fish on the map. Gold Fury is the call. Audio should be there for Ice. He's going to be able to see that it's being done, not going to be able to do anything about it. Scarabs pick that one up off the back of a clean kill, and the left side of the jungle might as well just be theirs.
They are, what's the word? Not more patient. It was the correct call. You know, I see low
less
health
tunnel vision.
Yeah, I see low health bar. I'm blinking in, and I think definitely not the right play. Not even because it wasn't a free kill. It certainly was. There was no way that Rotwin was going to live. However, just go for the Fury, right? That is the objective right call. Killing the support there doesn't give you too much, and then you give Ice time to maybe set up for a possible blink steal there with the crushing wave. So much smarter call just to stay objective focused, keep pushing that gold lead. I love that play. I think that most teams, myself included, would have just tunnel vision for Rotwin, dove that tower, no matter how long it takes. And then you might have lost that opportunity to actually go in for the Fury. But now, 3-man grouping over on the blue buff. It looks like Panvich and Worst Turtle are trying to go for the steal, but not in a good spot.
Worst Turtle has the ult. Doesn't look like they're going to try to fight this one. Emil, my man cannot catch a break. The sun's not doing anything to slow down what E-Chrome is dishing out. And that's going to allow them to start getting a little more aggressive elsewhere on the map. Though the support's still being tethered towards left, gives an opening for the Tanuki. They're going to start up a Pyromancer. Again, Worst Turtle with ult. Didn't want to fight around the blue buff. Maybe appropriately so. Right here, could find a really massive pickup for the team. And it seems like just that presence alone is enough to make the Tanuki rethink their aggression.
Yeah, in my mind, it's sort of like when you know there's a Blink Fear No Evil available, you say, hey, we could outburst, sure. But if we get chain stun right before we're trying to burst, and this Chang'e is able to stay so safe in the backline before we get at low HP, just not worth going for a pull like that. So the Yomi Tanuki are going to drop the Pyromancer and just go back to farming for the time being, which I think is the objective right call. When you're behind like this, you don't want to make those 50-50s, even if you think Crushing Wave does more damage, which it does. It's just that CC aspect you cannot plan for. You were talking about Emilito not being able to catch a break. Even his purple buff is being chased underneath the tier 1 tower that doesn't have that much HP left. It is an unfortunate day to be a Ho Yi here on the Yomi Tanuki. E-Chrome is just getting the better end of pretty much all these trades. Deathwalker is going to attempt to steal away this speed buff and gets it. Worst Turtle uses the ultimate. But it looks like Rotwin is going to have to help out and try and keep his ADC alive underneath this tower because the pressure, it's over in duo lane.
The silence has come back over here. There's going to be the lurking in the waters, and the Suns get dropped. They want this fight. I don't know if the fight wants you, though. E-Chrome is going to pick up one easily, another one, like it's nothing. And unless Ice can get out of there, there he is. Could have been 3 easily swung for the carry. And a 3-on-2. E-Chrome stands his ground and makes them regret their choices.
I'm actually really curious if E-Chrome even has points in Uli at this point. Because I've seen a lot of ADCs that play the Hachi Man just go 2-3. Yeah, no points in the 1. If he had the 1, could have went in for the kill there on Ice, just going for those ranged autos, but it's just more worth it to go for more damage. At this point, Zeros takes a stinger to the face, but here comes Ice, and he's got some damage.
Sap, you can see the move speed working wonders here to get him out of there. Himmel comes in, misses the stun, does hit the ricochet shot though onto Sap, silenced.
Knocked up over the pluck.
Manages to avoid that one, though through maybe some misdeeds of the Tanuki and Deathwalker. Poor Deathwalker, too much damage to handle. And you can see the Scarabs slowly shimmying their way over to the right side of the map. Trelly, I have not been watching it carefully enough. 13.5 minutes in, 5,000 gold, and then trying to push 6,000 at this rate with this tower. Oh, they're going to get a little bit closer, not quite breaking through, but maybe Worst Turtle gets a kill on the Ice. And suddenly you're getting pushed over the tipping point there.
This is one-sided, Gore.
Yeah, it went from back and forth to very heavily Scarabs favored quickly.
Yeah, it just seems like every lane is having some struggles trying to step up. Deathwalker was just trying to find some AFK farm, and Worst Turtle makes the clutch rotation over. Again, unfortunate timing there on the pluck, as this is a nice 1v1 attempt here. Emilito actually getting the better end, but E-Chrome should do a lot more damage. Keegan is hit.
Jutsu.
Yeah, it just seems like 3 levels down. E-Chrome should never lose that, but Emilito was getting the better end of some auto attacks there for a bit. And he dropped the Suns on both Bastions. Neither one died. They're both 1 HP there. Not even going to get some gold for that play.
And that feels like it hurts even more. Rotwin, tell me if you've seen this one before. Stingered and locked between 4. A repeat of game 1, 4 levels down from the Afro. And as far as the Scarabs are concerned, just another objective on the map. Tanuki take that one away, though, and they deal a lot of damage to silence. The Fury goes their way, but they've lost now 2 in the process. Good shot by Zeros. Does exactly what you want out of a Thoth and helps keep his team in a more comfortable position. Those Oni minions, I mean, they're almost necessary at this point just to get some pressure back.
Yeah, all the while, Deathwalker was able to take away Worst Turtle's speed buff again, but didn't end up taking the red buff because Worst Turtle was able to use Waxing Moon to confirm that one. But good ultimate there from Zeros. Ice provides the vision, so trying to keep their late game hopes alive, not letting this gold league just snowball out of control are the 2 mages. I'm just wondering when Emilito is able to get online, right? Level 12 has the Hou-Yi 2 items, whereas E-Chrome has 3.25, I suppose. And that doesn't start to look good. We watched the boxing attempt. That was the only call I think Emilito had to try and get back into the game, was to look for that 1v1, and still just was not able to find it because of that. You know, Rotwin, unfortunately, is not very tanky. This Sobek, level 10, has 2 items, and one of them is a cloak that is not going to be stacked up for quite some time. That prophetic cloak needs 13 more stacks, and they're hard to find as a Sobek who just gets stingered and essentially killed. So now the Solar Scarabs are just grouping up in the jungle, seeing what they can find, and it's a kill onto Ice.
Yeah, they went fishing, they found a Hebo. There's 2 ults. I don't know that they needed to use all those, although they immune a lot of the damage. Look how full the health bars are still as well. EI Jutsu not going to get this stun onto Immel. Does not seem to matter.
Goodness.
The shots are good. The Aegis a little bit better, at least when it comes to E-Chrome. Unfortunately, everything after the fact. Worst Turtle shows up, helps put Immel in the ground. Shot from Zeros on the ultimate goes wide. Rotwin forced to use the dash just to stay alive. And so they reluctantly pull away from the kills, the Scarabs that is. Grab the tier 2 on left. Pyromancer's coming back up. You have to imagine we're about to start seeing rotations over towards right.
Yeah, I want to see a pre-20-minute Fire Giant here. Again, there's no crit available, but last game it wasn't a problem, and this game it won't be either, because number 1, they've got the Aphrodite buff. They've got plenty of sustain with the Chang'e Guan Yu Afro. They also have double Hunter, Sap 7. will be providing plenty of damage there. They've got the burst as long as Worst Turtle is around, because Ice already used the beats. Unless you're crushing waving to immune the Waxing Moon, which is going to be, I would argue, one of your 2 game-saving ultimates here, which one belongs to Zeros, one belongs to Ice. And if you're using one of them defensively, you're just throwing in the towel. So it looks like 1 horse down, the cavalry charge onto Deathwalker just for fun at this point. I don't think they're ever going to be able to chase down this Amaterasu, but Fire Giant has begun and Panvich is just playing zone duty. We'll see if Zeros can make another Miracle Steal, but it's already half health.
Burned quickly. Although maybe not as fast as you would like. There's Deathwalker. Rotwin stepping up. Deathwalker getting melted in the process. 1 more hit. And Panvich is going to start zoning out Zeros after a clean kill. Rotwin goes down thanks to E-Chrome. Now Ice, the one looking for a miracle. Blink, ult, available. Blinks in, goes forward. Tanuki get the Fire Giant, but lose their lives. Immel, other side of the world, gets to keep the buff. So does Zeros.
How much can they do with it?
It's a speed bump in the way of the Scarabs. I don't think that it's going to slow them down too much.
Yeah, the question now becomes what can the Solar Scarabs do without Fire Giant? And what can the Yomi Tanuki do with FG on Emilito and Zeros for the next couple minutes or so? I imagine not much. They are stepping up to defend their tier 2s, which I think is the objective right call. They're trying to keep this gold lead from getting out of hand, especially because they're not fighting into an actual Fire Giant buff. But the Primal Fury's already back up here. The Solar Scarabs, as you said, a speed bump. They're not going to stop grouping up. They're not going to stop pushing forward. They've got a 4-0 Chang'e, a 3-0 AMC, and of course, the real threat on the map, a 6-1 Hachiman who, I don't know if you saw the damage numbers, I don't think anyone's done even half of what E-Chrome has been able to put out this game. Yeah, not even half.
Wow.
It is ridiculous how much damage this Hachiman has been able to do. And it doesn't seem like Emilito is going to be able to output that amount of damage anytime soon.
You get 3 levels ahead for the carry, 4 for the supports and the jungle. Deathwalker has a lead, though. So at least something going their way. Unfortunately, it has come at the cost of pretty much everything else in this game. Fire Giant onto, at this point, like maybe a deterrent, but I see 2 tier 2s that are probably going to get sieged relatively soon, and I don't know if there's much of a defense.
I just imagine the comms being like, wait, we have Fire Giant on Zeros. Maybe we can do something. Then they're like, no, let's just go back to farming. There's no way we're grouping up for a push, not in this situation. You said 4 levels behind.
Yep.
It's a very difficult margin to come back from. They have to play underneath. They have to try and defend their tier 2 towers and just hold on to that gold lead as much as possible. The good news is they still do have future Fire Giant steal attempts. They've got big mage ultimates, and
They're good at stealing stuff.
Yeah, that seems to be the call. I mean, if Zeros and Ice can continue making those plays, they can sort of start building up a comeback here. This is the first step. I think taking away that first Fire Giant was box number 1 checked off here for the Tanuki's comeback mechanics.
Marching in the right direction. Unfortunately for some of them, the right direction is right back towards base. Get out of there as soon as you can. Not grouped up by the Tanuki at all. Grouping from the Scarabs gets them a tier 2 in mid. Only 1 more tower left standing for the Tanuki here. It's the tier 2 on right. And based on how they are walking across the map, that's not going to be true for much longer. Walk in, take that one down. Don't care about the backdoor protections. They've got the damage, even without a Fire Giant. I was curious if they were going to maybe try to call some bluffs here, push towards the Phoenix, see if they could force the Tanuki to make some uncomfortable plays. But instead it's going to be a back spin, reset. I was going to say in Fire Giant, but we still got a little over a minute for that one, so I guess farm up for a little bit, then Fire Giant. As if you look at the power play graphic, it's going to disappear here in a few seconds. It has been nothing but negatives for the Tanuki, unfortunately. And sometimes that's just how it rolls, right? A steal that gets you so much, maybe in your favor. 7,000 gold, though, now shimmying over towards the other side. Finally seeing some level 20s. It's going to be a while for the Tanuki to catch up.
Yep, I'm thinking ward coverage is going to have to be key for the Solar Scarabs. You really can't be letting a Hebo blink in and steal away this next Fire Giant, because it does unfortunately stop a lot of what you're trying to do siege-wise. The Solar Scarabs are not near Fire Giant. They are in the jungle trying to see who they can find. But unless you're Deathwalker, the Tanuki are not even out of Phoenix. They're just sitting by underneath their birds. And it looks like, finally, yeah, the grouping over towards Fire Giant here for the Scarabs. They're going to go for it. But the Tanuki, they got to know, hey, they're one place to look for a fight, look for an opportunity. The Stinger does connect. Ice takes some damage, and Worst Turtle, Waxing Moon's going to confirm it. Now you don't have to worry about that for the steal.
Yeah, able to get rid of that. You did have to commit your blink. I don't know that you're that upset about it. The rest of the Tanuki now starting to walk at you. E-Chrome loops around. You've got to teleport in from Panvich. So your team fully grouped up. Deathwalker in the back. Maybe could have been an easy kill, but instead they find the focus elsewhere. Rotwin forced away. It's going to be Phoenix started up before the Fire Giant even gets looked at. Deathwalker again goes for the loop, tries to find him, gets a good stun, but now has the eyes of the Scarabs looking at him, has to play it carefully, falls back. Immel picks up a tier 1 in mid, looking to push for tier 2. Try to give his team some win conditions. Unfortunately, the biggest win condition on the map. Fire Giant looked at, started up. Should be pretty easily confirmed here by the Solar Scarabs. And if they're racing for the tier 2,
he didn't get it. He's going for it. He's got to.
Got it. Okay.
I was going to say Fire Giant is going to go the way of the Solar Scarabs. Worst Turtle able to find Rotwin, but I was going to say, Emilito, are you going for a gank at this point without much HP? The Scarabs are just sieging forward. They feel confident going for this mid Phoenix even without minions, as they probably should. This sustain is disgusting. Their health bars are not dropping at all, Gore.
Yeah, 2 and 15 duo lane plus jungle combined. Tends to open your eyes to what you're able to do and what you're capable of. And your team takes the right side Phoenix, takes the mid Phoenix. Looks like they're going to take Deathwalker down with them. The Suns get dropped though. E-Chrome finally shut down. That's going to be an opener for Ice. Maybe gets them in here. Immel jumps forward, tries to get the damage, but no, it's Worst Turtle who turns it around and shuts him down. Ice going for a loop around, but the healing is here, Shelly, and I don't know that they're ready for it. Oh, you lose E-Chrome. That's a huge part of your push, but you got 2 Phoenixes already. The team gets to reset, and you got 30 seconds till your carry's back.
Yeah, certainly a massive shutdown kill there, but what is going to be done with 2 Phoenixes down? Worst Turtle didn't have ultimate, so they were able to sort of just group up, the only Tanuki that is, and group up in the jungle and run in during a small corridor. You try doing that when Waxing Moon's available, not going to go so well. But I think the Solar Scarabs are right to assume they can just keep pushing here. They've got Fire Giant still on 4, E-Chrome already back up, and they've got the buff for another minute 30. That left side, Phoenix, Pyromancer, and Gold Fury, all still available and on the map. What is the order of operations? It looks like Clear the Wave, Gold Fury, and the final left side bird is wishful thinking. With Panvich over on right, just stopping Deathwalker, I don't think they're going to step up too far. They just don't have that much time. And Worst Turtle. I think he saw Emilito had the bush on and just ulted the wrong bush. He went for the wrong one.
Unfortunate. That ult's going to be down for a little while. I don't know that he's too worried about it. That is a huge opener around the Phoenix line that's not going to be there. Poor Emil, man. 0 and 6, just bullied so far this game. Doesn't seem like it's going to be getting much better. Rotwin gets shredded almost instantly. Deathwalker goes into the back. They're trying to create some kills, trying to create something. Panvich gets low, but escapes the Suns. Instead, it's the damage from the Scarabs that is just finding too much. Ice goes in, tries to help, but falls down in the process. Immel, Zeros, Deathwalker, last 3 standing, all forced back to the fountain to stay alive. Left side Phoenix goes down. So does Immel. Oh my god! Killed off like it's nothing. Titan started up by the Scarabs, and there's not an ounce of defense that the Tanuki could make, except for, I guess, pulling them literally away from the base. It seems like that tunnel vision, you were talking about it earlier. Oh, it's finally come back. The fiery Chaos Swordsman kills off Zeros. And the Scarabs win this one 2-0.
The fiery Chaos Swordsman able to find that finish. The minions.
Really a strong minion right there.
I mean, it's difficult to try and fight into. As you could see, it was just so much sustain. lane domination throughout the entirety. I guess Deathwalker got ahead by just ignoring his team. But I would argue if you're just letting your team die in team fights and just going to push, you still probably lost lane in that regard. So there's not much to say. There was some steals. There were some objective steals. That was pretty much it. This was an entirely Solar Scarab set. They just won pretty much every lane.
Yeah, if it hadn't been for the Fury and the Fire Giant, it might have been even quicker for the Scarabs. Just utter dominance in Game 1, utter dominance here in Game 2 as well, and it's a 2-0 victory for the Scarabs. Well, that's going to do it for me and Shelly. We're going to throw it back to the desk so they can break it down.
My goodness, this now shakes things up over in the EU SEC because this is a Yomi Tanuki squad that simply looked lost today, outclassed even, which is not what we've grown to expect with members of this roster. If they lose, it's a very close, maybe 3-game set where they make a mistake and drop a game. I couldn't tell you the last time I've seen these players, even individually or as a team, get blown off the map like we just saw in 2 straight games.
But it happens again, and I think it is rooted in the laning phase this time around, at least a little bit more so than it was previously. Duo lane in particular, that was an awful showing from the squad, man. I mean, I believe ending the game around like 0-12 or something along those lines. Emilito soloed upwards of 4 times in lane. E-Chrome, even when you're banning out his best pick, clearly has got a little bit more in that back pocket and is able to make things work for his squad. At 1.5 levels up over his direct lane opponent and walking into a tier 2 tower with absolute confidence. And when the game has spiraled that far out of control on one side of the map, it tends to bleed into the others. Objectives may have been stolen at times, but not enough for Yomi Tanuki to find their footing. And generally a Gold Fury and a Fire Giant steal would be just enough, but not if everybody's already dead by the time the objective's taken away. I believe even off the Fire Giant steal, maybe one person benefits from the objective. This is one that is so easy to break down, but so difficult to turn into a death segment because it happens so quickly, and it is so evident for everyone that watched. The Solar Scarabs, they were just the better team in every facet today.
Which again is surprising considering we're talking about the Yomi Tanuki and how dominant some individual members of that roster have been over the last couple of years at the SEC level. I mean, I don't know. I don't know if I say panic button for the Tanuki, but you got an 0-13 duo lane. Your carries are 0-8 combined.
If that's not making you panic,
right?
I don't know what does.
But I think the additional panic factor is added in because this is so counter to expectations of this team. If we figured there'd be a rough showing or this is one of the lower teams in the EU SEC and then just kind of got blown off the map, whatever. But because of expectations for this Tanuki roster, it being this dominantly against them, I think is what adds to my panic a little bit. But rather than focus on the bad, I'm going to focus on the good here, and that's the Solar Scarabs. Their duo lane goes absolutely wild. Each individual player felt like won their matchup against some very difficult opponents here today. And I think moving forward, this has got to maybe shift up our expectations for the EU SEC and how things will break down later on in the year. You're looking, of course, to try to make it into those top few teams and makes life easier for Masters, those sorts of things. This Scarabs team apparently has come to play because they looked really, really good here to start off our competitive SMITE Friday. That is just the first of 3 best of 3s we've got for you here today. Camelot Kings, Atlantis Leviathans, as I've mentioned, will start off our SPL day in about 45 minutes. The SPL will kick off for this weekend with those 2 teams, and then Oni Warrior Styx Ferryman end the day. As always, make sure you stay tuned after our SPL broadcasts all weekend long. Slated for about 5 p.m. Eastern time, but
who knows?
Generally pushes a little bit later depending on how long the matches go. Will be our North American SMITE Challenger circuit, and that'll be the community broadcast. So 2 SPL matches today, 3 for the next 2 days. So doubleheader of triple headers after today. Really good ones to look forward to here this weekend, Miff. And I think as we start to shift our mindset towards the SPL, this is going to be a weekend of trend setting or trend breaking, I think, from weekend to number 1. There's a difference between gathering a bit of data. Oh, this team had a good weekend. This team had a bad weekend. Now as you move into weekend number 2, especially with more difficult matchups, I think this is where the expected/unexpected becomes a bit more solidified.
Yeah, some streaks will have to come to an end as well. A couple undefeated teams still out there, 2-0 teams that will be matching up against each other. So only one, we'll be able to end this weekend with that undefeated title still. So I think that speaks to your streaks either continuing or ending or establishing
Sure does,
narrative. Otherwise, it's still good Smite. It's still the SPL,
That's
and
right.
it's still something you should be tuning into.
You should tune into it. In about 42 minutes now, the Smite Pro League will kick off for this weekend. Don't worry. In between now and the start of the SPL waiting room will lead you right on into it. So we'll be taking a quick break, and in just a moment, the SPL waiting room kicks off for this weekend.